Welcome back to the Site Black YouTube channel. I'm your host Shad, and today we got a new non-music reaction video. We got an interesting one. We reacting to, what is this called? How Sinners uses horror to tell Black history. By One Mic History. So shout out to them, this content creator. Y'all make sure y'all check out their channel. But I want to do something different, man. Like, let's get more into some Black history. I know Sinners has been a big thing in the media. I ended up watching it. It was a great movie. Shout out to Ryan Coogler, Michael B. Jordan. They did their thing on that one. And all the actors and actresses that was on the set. So, I can't wait to get into this. I started this channel mainly as a music channel. But like, we're gonna get into the whole Black culture, you know what I mean? We're gonna get into everything Black culture. And also this has roots in music as well, because the whole theme of this movie was about juke joints and the blues and music, that era of music. So, let's go ahead and get into this One Mic History. But before we do, if you want to send me any type of non-music content, make sure you send it to my email down below in the description box. That's where all our non-music content suggestions, that's where they stay. So if that's something that interests you, make sure you hit up the email in the description box. But let's go ahead and get into this video, man. Can't wait.
1930s Mississippi Delta, two brothers named Stack and Smoke returned home seeking refuge and redemption alongside their cousin Sammy, who was a prodigy with a musical talent that can't be ignored. They opened up a vibrant juke joint, hoping that music might temporarily free them from oppression, but they're quickly confronted with reality even darker and more ruthless than Jim Crow racism. So join us today while we unpack the Black experience from the movie Sinners. And if you like stories like this, you can find more stories like this at onemichistory.com. And if you like audio-only episodes, you can find our podcast wherever you get your podcasts. But without further ado, let's get started. In the stifling heat of Clarksdale, Mississippi in 1932, amidst fields heavy with cotton and despair, Ryan Coogler's powerful film Sinners opens upon this scene, drawing audiences into a world where history itself seems to breathe through the cotton fields and whisper stories of hardship, sorrow, and a quiet resistance. Historically, Clarksdale was birthed from a land once settled by a man by the name of John Clark, and it was once a hub for enslavement and cotton plantations. Over the decades, it matured into a town that symbolized Black suffering and cultural vibrance. The oppressive sharecropping system that dominated here transformed Black men and women into economic captives, perpetually bound by debt servitude to landowners. By 1932, the Great Depression had culminated in widespread ruin. In Mississippi, one of the poorest states in the Union, Black families bore an especially severe burden. Rampant unemployment forced Black families into exploitative labor arrangements. Under this sharecropping system, Black tenant farmers produced crops on land owned by white landowners, often receiving payment only in the form of plantation scrips rather than actual currency.
And what I read, a lot of that land that those white owners had were actually stolen. Like, if you know about any of the history about like Black people getting ran off their land and ran out of town and stuff like that, a lot of those lands were like reclaimed by a lot of those white owners, and then Black people end up having to work on them anyway. So crazy history, man.
Money could only be spent at the plantation store, and this practice perpetuated economic dependency, making it impossible for Black sharecroppers to escape this cycle of debt. Additionally, this time period was marked by peak Jim Crow segregation and violence. By custom and by law, Black Mississippians were harshly segregated from whites and forced to occupy inferior spaces, and living under this constant threat, including lynchings. Black communities in Mississippi faced daily reminders of this deeply entrenched white supremacist system. With fear and intimidation, this power structure worked relentlessly to silence Black voices and to stifle even the smallest forms of resistance. From 1882 to 1968, Mississippi held the highest percentage of racial lynchings in the United States, vividly highlighting the state's harsh racial climate. This painful reality is embodied in the film when Delta Slim recounts a chilling story of his friend who was wrongfully accused and violently lynched and cruelly mutilated. This devastating event was not just an isolated incident, but an all too common tragedy that illustrates the cruelty and horror black Mississippians had to endure every single day. It is within this brutal, oppressive system that Smoke and Stack, the twin brothers at the heart of this film, will return to their oppressive birthplace. Haunted by roots of poverty and racial terror, their homecoming reveals the legacy of the Great Migration that was a northward journey taken by many black families to seek liberation and dignity, yet often finding the harsh reality of injustice still lingers well beyond the Mason Dixon line. This was briefly mentioned by Stack when he was talking to Sammy when he comments that Chicago ain't nothing but Mississippi with tall buildings instead of plantations. And as Smoke and Stack grapple with their troubling past and the oppressive backdrop that they find themselves in, the film finds its emotional foundation in this shared experience and the powerful rhythms of the Delta Blues. The Delta Blues originated in the early 20th century in this same Mississippi region and is characterized by its deep emotional intensity, its acoustic guitar driven sound, its lyrical narrations about hardship, love, and life struggles. It is rooted in the black experience. Influential artists include Charlie Patton and Robert Johnson, and they profoundly shaped the musical landscape, bringing raw, expressive storytelling and emotional vocal styles to prominence. This music reflected the changing realities of black rural Southern life and eventually influenced other genres like rock and roll, jazz, and rhythm and blues. So it's with this backdrop that Smoke and Stack bring their dream of owning a juke joint, which is a venture seen by many within society rebellious and dangerous. Historically, juke joints were clubs or gathering spots, and they stood as vital cultural sanctuaries for the black community facing oppression and discrimination. They freed themselves from the watchful eyes of authority and the rigid black church oversight. These lively establishments were safe havens. Inside those walls, black people could express themselves openly, honestly, and passionately. This led to music that was raw and authentic, and it echoed their struggles, their loves, their loss, their hopes, and resistance. And it's through Ryan Coogler's storytelling that the importance of juke joints are seen clearly. They weren't simply venues. They provided a safe space to wash the cares away of the day, and blues became more than music. It was a lifeline, an emotional truth spoken boldly and bravely by those who refused to be silenced. Yet, within the black community themselves, the Delta Blues came with a complicated tension. On one side, blues offered freedom from expression, a bold celebration of life's raw truth. And on the other hand, the music troubled those who preach caution and respectability as vital strategies for surviving a white world. And Ryan Coogler brings these tensions vividly to life within Sinners, masterfully dramatizing the passionate clash between churchgoers who saw blues as dangerous and sinful devil music and those who embraced its liberation. At the heart of this conflict is Sammy, who was an exceptionally gifted young bluesman driven by a desire to express himself more freely through song, and his preacher father, who warns him against playing the devil's music, cautioning that doing so risks inviting the devil inside. And sure enough, the music does draw something dark and dangerous close. It draws a vampire named Remick into their community. Remick's arrival introduces a fascinating layer to the story. He is a centuries old vampire of Irish descent whose presence represents the experiences of marginalized white communities in America, though victims of prejudice themselves turned around and became the oppressors of black communities. There was a time where the Irish were considered inside out Negroes, but by 1932, they would have been assimilated into white culture and would have let the devil in. The film also carefully traces how vampirism spreads amongst the white locals, notably members of the Ku Klux Klan, before affecting black patrons at the juke joint. Coogler subtly highlights the painful history, outsiders often invading black spaces, eager to exploit, control, and commodify black creativity for their own purposes. Remix obsessive yearning for Sammy's talent
And I think we see that a lot in music, man. You know what I mean? Like with these labels and stuff like that. Like that's kind of what it's about.
perfectly embodies how white society has historically taken and profited from black artistry without respecting or acknowledging the humanity behind it. And yet, through all of this supernatural symbolism, Coogler never loses sight of reality. The most terrifying figure in the film is not the vampires, but rather the human face of hatred itself, the local Ku Klux Klan leader. As tensions slowly build, the supernatural horrors unfold, and the film directs its audience back to the most troubling truth of all, racist violence in America's history. Coogler's skillful shift underscores a chilling truth. Human racial violence surpasses any imaginary, unseen, undead horror. It is the stark confrontation of historical brutalities that propel Sinners to its dramatic crescendo. Brian Coogler's Sinners masterfully guides us through a haunting tapestry of black history, resilience, and unbreakable rhythm. It vividly shows how the heartbeat of the black experience perseveres amid darkness. Through Smoke and Sammy journey deep into the complexities of black survival, seeing clearly through the cost of their existence under oppression, the defiant pulse of the blues as resistance recognize that the greatest horrors are not supernatural, but human beings. Coogler reminds us that to understand black history, one must confront the painful past without turning away and weave together a thread of family bonds, musical traditions, and fierce perseverance. Ultimately, Sinners invites us to not only bear witness, but also to remember that the past is alive and it's breathing within our present and shaping every moment that we inhabit. Just as Sammy's blues song resonated through every scene that it was in, our ancestors speak through us, echoing courage and hope. When we truly listen, their voices rise, defiant, powerful, and unforgettable, guiding us to a future beyond fear and fortified forever by our history, our art, and our enduring humanity. Thank you. This has been One My Black History. I'm your host, Country Boy. This has been the black experience of the movie Sinners. I
So interesting stuff, man. And the reason why I think this is important, man, because like it's crazy how much of black, I guess you could say, artistry and music and even movies and just everything is that always has tied in with whatever the black community or black culture itself was doing. You know what I mean? It plays such a pivotal role in things. You know what I mean? From the civil rights movement to Jim Crow era to slavery, like there always has been that connection with the music, that being an avenue to us as black people through those types of those trying times. A lot of people like to like indulge in black music or indulge in black art without having to like deal with what the black community experiences and problems and issues and plights and things of that nature without having to dive into that. They want the art and the entertainment or whatever the case may be without having to deal with the thing that's connected directly to it. So diving into like a lot of the artists that I've been reacting to on this channel, as far as like Stevie Wonder and Marvin Gaye and Curtis Mayfield and things like that. A lot of their music, the subject matter of it is talking about these time periods and the issues of those times. So a lot of people when they listen to that, they don't really consider the lyrics and they just like the tune or whatever the case may be. But beyond those tunes, man, it's some deep stuff that's associated with that. So I just wanted to bring this to you guys' attention and get you guys' thoughts on this. See how you feel about this and the reaction. But I want to give a special thanks to my Patreon supporters. That one, Corey Buckman, Complex, Lena Pond, Queen Momo, Tony Campbell, Sonya, Mikey Lehigh, and Sylvia Walker. You guys keep this channel up and going. You guys keep the movement going forward. So I appreciate you for your support. But that's it for this one, guys. If you like this reaction, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and hit that notification bell so you're aware of when we do end up dropping these videos. And also, if you want to have me react to non-music content, you know where it's at. The email is in the description box below. Also, share this video with people who may find this interesting, family, friends, and whatnot. And make sure you comment down below your thoughts on this video. But with that said, hope you guys having a wonderful day and peace.